Hi again, Andrew Goodall here with another video in my Photography School series where I break down the skills and settings of manual photography into bite-sized chunks that are easy to understand. This is a work in progress and there are more videos to come. So before we start, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to stay in touch with future content. In this fourth video in the series, I'm going to take a closer look at shutter speed. Earlier I gave a brief outline of the exposure triangle. That's the relationship between the three main settings of exposure, the shutter speed, the aperture and the ISO. Now it's time to start taking a closer look and I'm going to start with shutter speed. First, let's do a quick recap. In very simple terms, your camera is a black box with a sensor inside and a black window in the front. Every time we press the button, the shutter opens, the sensor is exposed to light and a photo is taken. Shutter speed is simply about how long that window stays open. The longer the window's open, the more exposure your photo gets. So a fast shutter speed, where the window's open for a very short time, lets in just a tiny bit of light. A slow shutter speed, where the window's open for longer, lets in more light. So we can brighten and darken a photo at will depending on which shutter speed we choose. Now let's take a look at the numbers. Here's a pretty basic outline of common shutter speed settings. You're likely to have all or most of these settings on your own camera once you know where to look. The faster shutter speeds are represented in fractions of a second. Here we start on the left with an 8,000th of a second. Not all cameras start so high, some only go as fast as a 4,000th of a second. As we go down through the numbers, the shutter speed gets slower, so from left to right each new setting lets in more light than the one before. Then we get to the number 1, which represents 1 full second. After that we go into multiple seconds, and most DSLR cameras will go to a slowest speed of 30 seconds. Notice that the multiple seconds here have that little quotation mark beside each number. A lot of cameras show that symbol on your slower shutter speeds. Not all cameras have it, and it's not important, although it is a handy way to distinguish, for example, whether your speed is 30 seconds or a 30th of a second. So there you have a fairly standard set of shutter speeds for a modern camera, with the fastest setting being an 8,000th of a second, and with speeds getting slower and slower right down to the slowest shutter speed of 30 seconds. Now if you do the simple math on these numbers, you can see that with each next step down the shutter speed chain, the window is open for twice as long. So at a 500th of a second, the shutter's open for twice as long as a 1,000th of a second, and so on down the line. These are what we call, in old-fashioned terms, a full stop change in the shutter speed. These days, with cameras becoming much more high-tech, you'll find that your camera has other shutter speed settings in between these full stop settings, so you can move your shutter speed in smaller increments. For example, from a 1,000th of a second, your camera might go through an 800th and a 650th of a second before it gets to 500. The trouble is these incremental settings can vary from camera to camera, so to keep things simple for teaching purposes, I'm going to stick with these old-fashioned settings. Now let's look at how you can operate the shutter speed on your DSLR camera. Unfortunately, once again, it can vary from camera to camera, but you're looking for a dial, usually with little notches in it to give it an easy grip texture. On most cameras, it's on the right-hand side of the camera, either in front or on top of the camera body, where it can easily be operated by your index finger. On some cameras, it's actually found on the back of the camera, where it would be operated by your thumb. Simply turn the dial to the left or right and the shutter speed gets faster and slower. It's also easy to keep an eye on what shutter speed you're using once you know where to look. The info screen on the back of the camera displays it. Again, it looks a little different from camera to camera, but here are a few examples to show you what to look for. More importantly, you can see the shutter speed in the viewfinder. So even as you're framing up a photo, you can use your finger or thumb to change the speed and keep an eye on the exact setting without taking your eye away from the camera. Now remember that in manual photography we use the light meter to help us find the right exposure. So as you change the shutter speed, you're going to see the light meter move up and down. When the meter reaches the center, that's the camera telling you you have the right shutter speed for a correct exposure. But if you set the shutter speed faster, your light meter will move towards the minus. That's the camera warning you your picture could be underexposed. Slow the shutter speed down and it moves towards the plus. That means the photo might be overexposed. But don't forget, the light meter is a guide only. You might choose to lighten or darken a photo deliberately, like I have with these shots. I started with a photo taken at 1.6 seconds. That's fairly slow, but that's because of the dark location. Overall, the shot isn't badly exposed, but the shadows are pretty dark, and you can see that the stained glass windows are badly overexposed. Next, I chose a faster shutter speed of 1 second. You can see that the light meter moves to the left towards the minus, and I get a darker photo, which gives me better exposure on the windows. Then I chose a slower shutter speed of 2.5 seconds. The light meter went up towards the plus, and I ended up with a brighter photo and a lot more detail in the shadow areas. Now, which one of these 3 photos is the best isn't really important. The point is that by controlling your shutter speed, you get to decide how bright or how dark your photo is, and you can do it with a simple turn of a dial. The light meter will guide you to what the camera thinks is the best exposure, but ultimately you're in control. Here are 2 images you might recall from an earlier video. I showed you that with the light meter in the middle, we ended up with an overexposed flower. By pushing the light meter towards the minus, we darken the exposure for a better shot of the flower. We can do this quickly and easily simply by setting a faster shutter speed. Now there's one final major point you need to understand about shutter speed. You see, shutter speed doesn't just affect the brightness of the exposure, it also affects what happens when we photograph a moving subject. If something moves in front of the camera while the shutter's open, it's going to cause blurring, and the more movement that occurs, the more blurry the photo is going to be. So we choose a fast shutter speed, not just to control the exposure, but also to freeze movement and prevent a blurred photo. These next 2 photos were both taken at a 12/50th of a second. That's really just coincidence, as I would sometimes shoot subjects like this at even faster speeds. Really anything over 1,000th of a second will do. But the faster the action, the faster your shutter speed needs to be to freeze it. Now, using a fast shutter speed to eliminate blurring doesn't just apply to birds. Anything that involves movement is going to cause blurring, so whether you're shooting wildlife or sports or any kind of action, you need a fast shutter speed if you want to keep the photograph sharp. Of course, not all blurring is bad. A creative photographer might choose a slower shutter speed on some moving subjects to let the blurring in, specifically to capture the movement in a different way. Here I've chosen a slow speed of a 20th of a second on the waterfall for a little blurring, and then I went all the way to 5 seconds for a really exaggerated blur. As you become more experienced in your photography, you're going to find all sorts of situations where a little creative blurring can make a big difference. Of course, photos like these require a steady camera. A shaky camera won't just blur the moving subject, it'll blur the entire photo. So if you took photos like these handheld, you would expect the whole picture to be fuzzy. This is where tripods come in. Using a tripod will allow you to blur your moving subject without blurring the entire picture. I'll have more on tripods in some of my future videos. For now, that's our look at how shutter speed works in manual photography. By choosing the right shutter speed, you can control how bright or how dark your photo is and manage your moving subjects to be just as sharp or just as blurry as you want them to be. Thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned for the next installment in my photography school series. Don't forget to click that subscribe button before you go. I'm Andrew Goodall of Nature's Image Photography. Thanks for watching.